Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a few minutes to talk about this issue about science in dog training. And again, you're seeing a lot of individuals out there on social media, those who identify as balanced dog trainers, those who identify as force-free trainers, lots of academics who have made their livelihood, okay, out of this idea, marketing this idea that training is a learning-based exercise. Okay, again, I talk about the inherent problems based on how this idea is applied once a relationship problem is already underway between the dog and owner. Okay, once behavioral issues are already happening, trainers who are jumping into a relationship problem in the middle of a relationship problem, and immediately, okay, without any sort of critical thinking or thought about, what represents a process, simply using treats, using something to motivate the dog to respond, to do the typical sit down, come and stay. Okay, that's the kind of superficial, focus when it comes to a process, and while assuming, okay, that those responses can be trusted by way of perception of dogs changing the right way towards the owner and diminishment of unwanted behavioral issues as a result. But the question that dog owners need to ask is, well, what's the criteria to actually establish that the perception of dogs are actually changing the way that these trainers are trying to suggest, okay, that they are? Well, my response to that is, well, there is no criteria for that for them, because the criteria, okay, is, again, I talk about the two core ingredients, influence and control, being part of a process. Well, that is the actual criteria to not just reveal, okay, the current state of the relationship, reveal the current perceptions of a dog, but also the criteria for change itself. Okay, how those two core ingredients come into a process at the social level in terms of, again, how a dog's decision-making process is influenced and governed. Dogs as social animals, as pack animals, based again on this very special connection that dogs share with us that way. Okay, dogs as social animals. Now, again, when I talk about connecting dots here, understand that when I talk about why it is, and here's one of the things that you can, again, you don't have to take my word for it. If you look at just how common it is for people to invest their time, money, and energy, okay, into this idea. The training is a learning-based exercise. Again, these trainers using treats, those who identify as balanced and force-free trainers. Just how common it is for people to invest time and money. And here's the thing, dogs will look amazing, okay, as they're moving around, okay, the training environment for something that they want. They do a sit, a down, a come, a stay. You're walking away from the dog is, staying, in place. But attached to that, okay, is that motivator, okay? But however, okay, after you get your certificate, you feel really good about the process, thinking that, that the perceptions of your dog are changing, that things are all, this is being offered up as a standard. Only to go home and discover that, hold on here a second, I still have my dog that is, I haven't gotten anywhere. This dog is still doing all these things prior to going for help for training. And then guess what? You call the trainer, or you do your own research, and this is how bad this is. Understand that when you have this level of trainers, these two groups I talk about, all have, sold out, because that's what they've done. They've sold out to this idea that trains a learning-based exercise. Oh, well, guess what? This is where I talk about the blame shifting on the dogs. Well, there must be something wrong with the dog, or all the excuses, give it more time. And so, when you have this level that we're at, this many, and understand this is how massive the problem is. You got like 99% of dog trainers out there doing this. Well, guess what? It seems normal, okay, to put the blame onto the fault of the dog owner as the issue. And you see this in articles. You see this thing about talking about the genetics of the dog and going on. Understand that there has to be a off ramp. Okay, when you buy into, and I call it the big lie in the dog training world that trains a learning based exercise. Well, there has to be a way out. There has to be a way to explain it all away, or the blame. And this is what's happening. It's the blame shifting on the dogs. Understand, this has become a culture that's happened in the dog training world. It's gotten so massive and so big that now we're at a level where, again, I talk about all these controversies. Okay, this is where I encourage you to watch my Flipping the Script series. I go through and I talk about the bonker thing that happened with Gelman. Again, not about focusing on the individual. Okay, I'm talking about all these controversies that have happened out in the public. Balanced dog trainers, piling on to these situations along with Force Free. And other conferences look at the recent remote collar study put forward by Ivan Belanoff, balanced dog trainer. Talk about all the dogs yelping in the study and all the pushback. Again, all the online petitions that keep trainers out of certain areas, device bans happening, all the divisiveness. If you look at all these situations, and this is where I would encourage you to go watch the debate I had with Miracle Canine, where I actually have that uncomfortable conversation that these trainers don't want to have. And I actually tie it all in. I actually connect the dots to all these controversies to say, well, this is no accident or coincidence. Okay, this is all part of the confusion. This is all part of what's happened in the dog training world as a result of people buying into this idea that training is a learning-based exercise. And so, we talk about science. This is where you talk about science, what real science is supposed to represent. It's confronting the problems, okay? When all these inherent problems are happening, and this is the problem, is like all these trainers are pretending like this isn't all connected. Because when you understand that they've already bought into the lie, they've already sold out on this idea, they're making money off of it. Understand, it's so easy to do that because when you understand that this idea itself, how it plays out through a process with people who are, have that level of emotional connection with their dogs. And I talk about this issue in terms of, what that represents, in terms of dogs as social animals. Well, it's like they have the home field advantage because it's this type of dynamic that's happened where people are going to buy into it because it's all based on emotion, appearances. It lacks depth. It does not connect dots properly in terms of how a dog's decision-making process is governed. It doesn't have the core ingredients involved. And so it sets up this scenario so that people are feeling like a hamster spinning in the wheel, a lot of dog owners, and then they're buying into this blame-shifting narrative that there's something wrong with the dog, and these trainers they're just moving on. In fact, it's gotten so bad that a lot of these trainers don't even feel like they even have to be accountable. Okay, now it's real bad when you get to that level where they could just kind of blow it off when challenged, say, hold on here a second, there's a massive problem. Well, it's a culture now. Understand that this is a culture. And these trainers, they won't answer the question. I put out the information, they can't answer it, they won't answer it, but they'll engage and try to censor, copyright strikes, they'll do anything to shut down this very inconvenient truth because they've already sold out. Understand, that's where we're at. So my encouragement to anyone out there who's looking at what's happening in the dog training world is don't take my word for it. Do your own investigation. But understand this is critical information I'm putting out for dog owners who really care about their dogs. Understand these social media trainers out there. They talk up a good show. They say they care about dogs, but understand that flies in the face. It's a total contradiction based on what this idea represents, based on the blame shifting that's happening, all the inherent problems. And this is why things have gotten so bad in the dog training world. So again, I talk about what a process is. Okay, it's not a learning-based exercise the way it's being marketed by balanced and force-free trainers. It takes a path of an intervention in terms of a intentional interaction-based process that speaks the right language, okay? In terms of, again, of the two core ingredients I talked about, influence and control, being reconciled, coming in, and changing perception of dogs the right way, again, by way of a predictable outcome in terms of diminishment of unwanted behavioral issues. So again, I encourage you, check my YouTube channel. I show it, okay? You'll see me working with dogs. I put out the whole process for board and train, service dog training, and you'll even see the point of, okay, when can you start to motivate a response? You'll see that in there. But understand it's about cleaning up the relationship first, okay? This is about, understanding through a process what defines the process itself, but in terms of change itself, okay? How that's defined through a intentional interaction-based method. So again, my encouragement, talk about science. Understand this is not science. I wrote a book on this whole issue a few years ago called The Mind and Body Connection. It's available on my website. I go right back to Skinner and Pavlov. I show that dogs were never studied the right way from the very beginning in terms of the social aspect of this connection, what it represents. And since then, okay, you see how this has just escalated. This has been on a slow boil. This is now it's really starting to escalate. But again, I encourage you to check out my website. I put lots of great information. I don't market, okay, the same way as training. In fact, I go totally against how this idea is being marketed. I don't follow this idea of things. Okay, I approach training for what it represents. I truly care about dogs and owners the right way. Okay, it's about truth. Okay, it's about understanding what represents a process. It's about coming out on the other side in terms of a better relationship for you and your dog. Thanks for watching.